Surprising discoveries at the yard sale. The sun had barely risen, and the Carter family was already setting up tables in their driveway. It was the day of their annual yard sale, and they hoped to declutter their home and make some extra cash. Boxes filled with old clothes, kitchenware, books, and random knickknacks were set up. Their neighbors, the Martins, strolled over to be the first to scour the treasures. Mr. Martin was fond of antique vases, while Mr. Martin had an affinity for old books. As Mr. Martin rummaged through a box of hard covers, a small, dusty leather-bound book caught his eye. The pages were yellowed with age, no title or author was on the cover. Opening it, he found handwritten notes, diagrams, and what appeared to be complex mathematical calculations. "Hey, Jack," Mr. Martin called out to Mr. Carter. "Do you know where you got this old book?" Jack scratched his head. "I think it belonged to my grandfather. He used to be a professor of archaeology, but I never really looked into that book." Curiosity piqued, Mr. Martin decided to buy the book for a mere $1. As the day went on, more items were sold, and by sunset, the Carters were exhausted but satisfied. That evening, Mr. Martin sat in his study, eager to delve into his purchase. As he read, he realized the notes were related to an ancient lost city, its location, and possible treasures. The more he read, the more he became convinced that this wasn't just the ramblings of an old man, it could be a significant discovery. He decided to approach an archaeologist friend, Dr. Lydia Foster. Showing her the book, he watched her eyebrows shoot up in amazement. "These notes, if accurate, could change the course of history," she exclaimed. Together, they formed an exploration team. Using the book as a guide, they journeyed to a remote part of South America. After weeks of searching and following clues from the journal, they stumbled upon the entrance to an ancient city, hidden behind a waterfall. The city was an archaeological goldmine, with statues, buildings, and artifacts preserved over centuries. News of their discovery made headlines worldwide. Museums expressed interest in the artifacts, and the lost city soon became a historic site. Mr. Martin, still in disbelief, often looked at the little book he had bought for $1. It had transformed his life in ways he could never have imagined. The Carters, equally stunned, realized they had unknowingly had a treasure right under their nose. The story of the yard sale discovery became a local legend. It was a testament to the fact that sometimes, the most ordinary-looking things could hold extraordinary secrets. People in the town would often say, "Who would have thought?" A yard sale leading to a historical discovery. It reminded everyone that treasures weren't always gold or jewels, sometimes, they were old, dusty books waiting for the right person to open them. The secret world in the attic. For many years, the old house at the end of Elm Street stood vacant. It was a grand structure with towering chimneys, bay windows, and a peculiar circular attic window that many claimed looked like a watchful eye. Sarah's family moved into the house one warm summer day. While her parents were busy unpacking, Sarah, with her adventurous spirit, decided to explore. The house was vast, with countless rooms, long hallways, and grand staircases. But what caught her attention the most was the tiny door that led to the attic. Using an old rusty key she found in a kitchen drawer, Sarah slowly opened the door. A set of creaky wooden steps spiraled upward. The attic was unlike any she had seen. The walls were lined with bookshelves filled with ancient tomes, peculiar artifacts, and strange contraptions. But the most enchanting feature was the grand wooden telescope positioned perfectly under the circular window. Sarah, out of pure curiosity, peered through the telescope. To her astonishment, instead of viewing the outside world, she saw a bustling, vibrant town, with cobblestone streets, quaint shops, and tiny people going about their daily tasks. Mesmerized, she watched as a baker took freshly baked bread out of the oven, children chased after a dog in the town square, and an old woman sold flowers by a beautiful fountain. Feeling an irresistible urge, Sarah reached out and touched the telescope's eyepiece. In an instant, she found herself transported to the town she had been observing. The air was filled with delightful aromas of baked goods and blooming flowers. The townspeople, surprised by her sudden appearance, approached her with welcoming smiles. They introduced themselves and explained that she had entered the world of Attica, a magical realm that existed in parallel with the real world. The residents of Attica had known about the telescope and occasionally saw people from the real world peering in, but never had anyone from the outside visited them. Sarah spent what felt like hours, exploring the town, making new friends, and even dancing at a local festival. The townspeople were kind-hearted and full of joy. As the day turned to night in Attica, Sarah realized she needed to return home. The town's elder, a wise old man with a long white beard, guided her to the telescope. With a gentle touch, Sarah was transported back to the attic. Rushing downstairs, Sarah was met with a surprise. Only minutes had passed in her world. Excitedly, she began sharing her adventure with her parents. Though they dismissed it as a vivid imagination, Sarah knew what she had experienced was real. The attic and its magical telescope became Sarah's secret haven. She would often visit Attica, each time returning with enchanting tales of her adventures. And while no one else believed her, in her heart, Sarah knew that magic was real, and it was waiting for anyone willing to look just a little closer.